Hello, welcome to episode 160 of the Epic Film Challenge to 1,001 movies you must see before you die. It is currently the 25th of May 2017, 40 years to the day that Star Wars was released. Connie will be joining me for this video, but she's currently off screen because no doubt I'm going to spend a long time talking about the background of Star Wars before we get into the actual film itself, and she would literally just be just a yawning kind of mute. So yeah.
I'll yawn off screen.
She'll yawn off screen.
I feel one coming already.
As soon as I start speaking, it's okay. Right. So, and Star Wars especially something that I rarely talk about. So that'll really get the snores going. Right. Star Wars. It's the 40th anniversary. This is one of the big ones, and it's crazy how long ago this film came out and how it still has such a power that just most movies don't have. Films, can be great and they can last a long time and people can keep talking about them and watching them and enjoying them and stuff, but Star Wars just became something completely on a whole other level. Now George Lucas, we talked last time about American Graffiti. That was his second feature film. And for many years he had the idea of doing this epic science fiction space opera, which basically came from his love of the movie serials of the 1930s and 1940s, things like Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers, those kind of campy kind of space adventures. He loved that stuff, and again he would like the adventure serials as well, and he then went on to make Indiana Jones. But for Star Wars he had so many ideas, and George Lucas, people can rag on him all they want for the prequels, and I'll probably touch on that a little bit more in a second. And maybe he's not the best writer of dialogue, but you can't deny the imagination of George Lucas, because that's something pretty incredible. And I think a lot of the best science fiction / fantasy stories, like Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, stuff like that, they all come from one thing. One brain, just there's one person who had a singular vision for this thing, and then in the case of Star Wars it was executed by hundreds of people. And I think the key success of Star Wars was George Lucas's imagination, the story he came up with, the influences that he integrated into his story, and then the people he got to help make the story, from the cast to the people who did the special effects, the music. I mean, it was one of those lightning in a bottle kind of moments for a film, because it's not as simple as just saying I want to make this film, all I need to do is go out and make it. And if you really want to go deep into the making of Star Wars, I highly recommend The Making of Star Wars, a book by J.W. Rinzler. It's an incredible read and really gives you so much insight into every single step of the process. It was such a mammoth journey for George Lucas to get from I want to make this science fiction movie to it being released in May 1977. He had so many ideas. It was originally called like the saga, the Star Wars saga, The Adventures of Luke Starkiller as told by the Journal of the Whills. He had all these crazy long titles. He had all of these ideas. Anakin Starkiller was a completely different character. He had like just all these ideas that you saw in the prequels as well. One of the original characters was called Mace Windu, Jedi Bendu, and of course in the prequels 20 odd years later we had Mace Windu played by Sam Jackson. And so when you look at all that original draft stuff, there's all these ideas that he would end up using later on, and all the different weird names and the concepts, and there's some of his handwritten notes in that making of book where he talks about the Force and his idea of the Force and how excited it made him to create this idea, and he could make a whole film just about the Force, and he was so into it. But the thing with George Lucas was he hates writing. He absolutely hates writing. He loves coming up with ideas. When it comes to sitting down and putting pen to paper, he hated it. He would force himself to write at his desk from 9 to 5. If he sat there all day and didn't write anything, he'd stay at his desk because he had to force himself to write. He hated doing it. So draft after draft, Star Wars started to form. He would show it to people, get different pieces of feedback, and he would change it, and eventually he had something that was close to what we saw in the finished film. He got very lucky with the guy Alan Ladd Jr., who was working at 20th Century Fox, who had I guess the faith in George to make this film, because even after the success of American Graffiti, which made a lot of money, science fiction wasn't really a big money maker in the late 1970s. It wasn't something that studios were looking to make money. It was a hard sell. No one believed in it, but George Lucas, obviously, the people that he'd assembled on his team, producers and things, and Alan Ladd Jr. at 20th Century Fox. And he was given a very small budget, only I think a few $1,000,000. I don't know the exact facts, but it was definitely not really a lot of money considering how much needed to be done. And in fact, a lot of stuff had to be cut out of the film, and there was so much that George was disappointed in with this film from the making of it. He got so stressed out when he was making Star Wars, he had to go to hospital because he had heart problems, basically, because he was so stressed out. He was so overworked. Moving to London to film everything on the sets and going to Tunisia to film on location, just everything. From day one, there were problems on production. People weren't, even the people making it, didn't really believe in it fully. And like I said, it really was a lightning in a bottle kind of thing, where you have the music of John Williams, which is just so incredible. You have the special effects work, where they literally had to build like computers from scratch to pull off some of the stuff that they needed to do with the models and all of the other special effects. So he started his own special effects company to get the stuff done. And yeah, it's a really inspiring read to go and look at all the steps that he took to get money and all that kind of stuff, and sourcing everything. Very fascinating. I won't go into too much more detail on that stuff. Yeah, so special effects, the music, and the concept art from Ralph McQuarrie, which was just, it's just stunning to look at as just artwork, just pieces of, painting art, it's just so gorgeous, and that provided a lot of the inspiration for the design of the film, as well as other influences, like the robot in Metropolis. Fritz Lang's silent film was very much a template for C-3PO in Star Wars. And then George took from classic mythology and tried to integrate it into his story in a way that you really can't tell. Look at something like Avatar. As much as I'm a big fan of that film, some of the influences are quite, transparent. Whereas with Star Wars, I mean, George Lucas was doing the same kind of thing. He was taking from different stories, taking from different mythologies, but he was blending it into this new thing that was so fresh, even though it was made up of all these other elements that no one really saw through it, and it became its own thing. The lightsaber, the Force, and I guess some of the ideas really have been around since the days of fairy tales, but he really just took all of these influences, like Akira Kurosawa films, like The Hidden Fortress, which I'll be talking about hopefully next time on the Epic Film Challenge. I really want to talk about that. And yeah, and it just worked. It just really, really worked. And when he was about to finish the film, he had a rough cut of Star Wars, and he showed it to a group of friends, and everyone thought it was terrible. They were like, Jesus, I don't get it. The dialogue sucks. I don't know what I'm looking at. There's a big dog running around. What is this? Don't understand it. Steven Spielberg saw something in it. He thought that there was something to this film that his friend had made, and he refined it, and lots of other steps were taken, and then finally we had the finished film that premiered 40 years ago today, and it became the most successful film of all time at that point. And now Star Wars is still just completely a part of pop culture. Like, it's not one of those like, oh yeah, Star Wars, that thing. It is current, it is present, obviously because the new films are coming out as well. But even, outside of that, just the iconic images, Darth Vader, Han Solo, the characters, and the actors who played them. Again, it's so lucky that all the pieces fell into place, that you had this trio of unknown kind of actors like Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, who hadn't done that much in their careers at that point, and so it was a fresh kind of set of faces to kick off the film with and have these new characters. Then you have these classic actors like Alec Guinness, Oscar-winning actor, incredible actor playing Obi-Wan Kenobi. You have Peter Cushing, another fantastic actor playing Grand Moff Tarkin. The cast is just brilliant, and the world is brilliant. And I think that's me done on kind of the background of Star Wars. Wasn't even 10 minutes, so
It was 10 minutes.
No, it wasn't, because I got the time in front of me and it's not even hit 10 minutes. So you're wrong.
What is it then?
You're wrong. 9 minutes 59 seconds.
Oh my god!
So we just watched Star Wars, and we watched something that I've acquired. Bear in mind, I've bought Star Wars more times than I can probably count on both my hands, but it's a original film print of Star Wars. It's a fan restoration project that has been going on for a very long time, and it's so great that these fans have been so hardcore that they've literally spent tens of thousands of dollars of their own money acquiring these prints and then, you know, restoring them and scanning them, and it really looked fantastic. Some of it wasn't great, you know, it's a bit patchy here and there, a couple of frames missing, for example, but I mean, it's the original film in all its glory, you know, none of the changes. I won't go into the changes. Suffice it to say that, you know, Special Edition Star Wars, my only problem with that is that George made the originals obsolete and wouldn't give us the option, you know. Like I said, the special effects are great. For their time, they were phenomenal, and they won the Oscar for Best Special Effects, and then those were then pasted over in the special editions. So it's like, okay, you won the Oscar, but now we're going to take that off the screen, and no one else can see it again officially, you know. That I don't like. Anyway, but we watched the original version of Star Wars, and now we're going to talk about it.
See if I can get a word in.
So what?
I've only heard this like 1,000 times, it feels like.
I've not gone into that much detail with you in conversation, but what do you think of the film now, and what do you think of it generally? Just
I like it more every time I see it, really. Like, I haven't seen it that many times, but I feel like I've seen it a lot more times than you say I have, and I don't understand, like...
Yeah.
I must have seen it more times, but I wouldn't watch it without you, so it's just weird.
I think it's only been a handful of times, 3 or 4, something like that.
Maybe it's because the story is so famous that you kind of already know it, even though you haven't seen the movie. You still know the story, you know?
Yeah.
But it's, again, it gets better every time. Like,
yeah.
It can't not get better every time. And I really appreciated seeing the proper version of it. Like you were talking about, it's just... Well, nothing's like the original, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. It's, and it's very impressive to be... Having been made so long ago, the way it looks, it's so impressive. And you said it was
really
like an
is.
elephant?
Oh, yeah.
In it, so they dressed up the elephant.
Yeah, I should know this, I'm a Star Wars fan, but it's
no
either a
way
bantha
there were people
or
in that one.
It's a bantha or a dewback, something like that. The creature that the sand people ride. You see it briefly in a shot, and it's
hairy looking elephant.
It's either an elephant or a big right, something like that. But it's an actual animal. I know that much.
It must be an elephant because nothing else is that big.
Yeah.
But that was like, I was just, whoa! How did they make that look so great? But then if they just covered it in fur, poor thing. Still, it really worked. It looked really, really great.
Yeah, I was thinking that when we were watching the film, I was just thinking, it'd be nice if people these days would make a film and just say, right, no CGI. Let's just see if we can do it. You know, we got millions of dollars in the bank. Let's just try and see if we... Because I just feel like the limitations of practical effects, just even if they don't look as great as CGI can make it seem, that there's a charm to it. But I guess it's just one of those.
I like that they're doing CGI because it gives
future
future jobs.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm not completely knocking CGI. I'm just saying that it's fun when it's real as well. You know.
Yeah, but you know the good people, they mix both.
Oh sure, yeah. And seeing the matte paintings, you know, that were integrated in it's I love the way that the special effects look in the film.
Yeah, but in order for the matte paintings to look good, you have to mix some VFX in there.
Yeah, but also, I mean, they do matte paintings with a sheet of glass in front of the camera, things like that. You know, in-camera stuff, which is always really cool. And that was really the only way to do it a lot of the times. So you enjoyed it?
Yeah.
I mean, the story, we don't need to go into the story. There's a farm boy called Luke Skywalker who lives on a planet, and he ends up going on a big grand adventure where he learns that his father was a Jedi Knight, and there's a big evil guy called Darth Vader who everyone loves, even though he's a evil bastard.
You don't know about this, and shame on you.
Exactly, yeah. It's not even
Luke
worth...
and Darth Vader and Han Solo and Leia.
Yeah, I mean, it's
and
just...
Obi-Wan Kenobi and R2-D2 and C-3PO.
Right, the
and
droids.
That's all you need to know.
It's just that there's so many great characters, you know. There's some great movies out there have a couple of good characters in them, and they're still great movies. This film has just handfuls of great characters. Yeah,
and you get to know all of them.
Yeah.
It's a pretty long movie, so you have the time to get to know them, but
yeah, it's a slow...
you grow to care about them, and you know their names, you know, so...
Yeah, it might be... Maybe this...
I didn't say Chewie. I'm so sorry.
Chewbacca. It might be the slowest...
Why did Nikki want to Chewie?
The medal. Yeah, she said the medal at the end, which I just cracked up at.
Why didn't Chewie get one?
Discrimination.
And he still turns around so proud and goes, ah! You know, I can't do the thing. But yeah, it's just like, why? Couldn't she fit one around his neck?
I don't know.
And R2D2 and C3PO looking happy too, but it's like, no, they didn't get one either. Let the humans get it.
Let the Wookiee win. One thing I found quite interesting about the ending, and we're going to jump all over the place, is that when the medals are being handed out, Leia gives Luke and Han the medal, and Han kind of looks at her and gives her a little wink and a smile.
That's what I'm saying.
And she smiles at him.
Yeah.
And this is the first time I've seen the film since reading/listening to Carrie Fisher's final autobiography, where she talks about the affair she had with Harrison Ford while they were making Star Wars. And that was kind of a funny thing, because it was, you know, just the way they're looking at each other, you know that something's going on for real, which wasn't really talked about until maybe 6 months ago. So that was an interesting little thing to read into for the first time. And another thing I said to Connie was towards the end, when Luke's going off to face off with the Death Star, so to speak, and Han is leaving, and Luke's like, well, you know, take care of yourself, I guess that's what you're best at.
Yeah.
And then Han's like, hey Luke,
May the Force
be with you.
you.
And I've always thought that he does this little smirk before he's like, may the Force be. It's almost like a fuck you. It's like,
hey Luke, break a leg.
It's almost
for
like
real,
if they were in high school, it's like, hey Luke, may the Force be with you. You know, like, you know, it just seemed like one of those things.
No, it just seemed like really sarcastic, like he meant the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Because he never believed in the Force.
But it is kind of played as a sincere moment, because Chewie seems to kind of take the piss out. He's like, oh, you know, he gets a little embarrassed almost. So, but yeah, that's just a random thing.
Yeah, but you don't understand Chewie, so
you don't.
So it could be him going like, I see what you did there,
right? Yeah, true.
And then he's like,
no, but then the way he reacts is like, oh, I know I'm talking. He gets a little bashful.
Then he's like, oh, I know that was kind of mean, wasn't it?
No, I don't know. I'm not sure about that. And that's another thing that I kind of picked up on, was at the beginning when R2D2 and C3PO get in the escape pod, and I guess I've always thought this, but when they're flying around in the escape pod, 3PO says something like, I forgot what he says now. He asks.
Doesn't look damaged at all from the outside?
No, not that. He says something to R2.
Oh yeah, is this thing safe?
Is this thing safe?
Yeah.
And R2 goes and he goes, oh. And it's like, what did he say? Like, he could have said yes, he could have said no, you know.
He just goes, like one vowel.
Right, but you don't know. And just the way 3PO's like, oh. I just love the idea of writing that into the film, like, you know, and then you don't get the answer. Like, I love those things. And
you
with
also
Chewbacca
like the
as
shutting
well.
up, sir thingy.
Yes, great little moment when, was it Lars? Yeah. No, Uncle Owen.
Yeah.
Yeah, Owen Lars, right, that's his full name. Uncle Owen's like, you know, I protocol droid, blah, blah, blah. You know, and 3PO's like, yeah, I've got all these lines. Yeah, okay, you know, shut up. And it's kind of like laid in there with all the other dialogue going on, but C3PO's like, yeah, shutting up, sir. Just these little details. Anthony Daniels is great as 3PO, obviously. Again, I like how you don't know what R2-D2's saying, but you never think about it. You're never like, oh, I wonder what, you know, I wish there was subtitles. You never think that. Well, same with Chewbacca. It's the way that everyone else reacts. It works.
Yeah, with BB-8, it's more understandable in a way, I think.
Yeah, they can be...
Because he is so, like...
Yeah, they worked a lot with BB-8 to be more expressive and stuff. Anyway, that's a whole different film. And another tidbit was that George Lucas, obviously being inspired by the films with Akira Kurosawa, being a big fan of those, George Lucas briefly considered making Star Wars in Japanese. He thought that it would be...
You were done with this.
No, but I just thought of this. He thought it would be great to really disorient people so that you're really on another world, that you don't understand the language, you know. I love that idea. I'm glad it didn't happen, obviously, but I like the concept. And he actually wanted to cast classic Japanese actor Toshiro Mifune as Darth Vader. That would have been insane. You know, just the body language. Anyway.
Can you imagine the way he walks?
Yeah.
Yeah, Darth Vader would have walked in a whole different way.
The Yojimbo walk for Darth Vader. That'd
be
funny. Where were we? I guess we weren't anyway. We're just talking about stuff that we picked up on watching it this time. C-3PO, yeah. Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill. A lot of people kind of rag on him for this film.
Why?
Because he's whiny and stuff like that. People say his acting's bad.
Lost his aunt and uncle.
There's a few moments where, you know, his acting isn't the best, but I really like him in this because he really is just this proper innocent kind of moldable piece of clay in this film. You know, where he really is just bright-eyed and just going out there, and he overdoes it a little bit at times, but by the time you get to Empire, like, that's when he gets really good as Luke, I think, and that feels natural with the progression of the character. Harrison Ford is just perfect as Han Solo. Like, I think there's a reason he's most people's favorite character.
I still don't understand why Obi-Wan just lets Vader kill him.
Well, he doesn't get killed. He becomes one with the Force.
Yeah, but he could easily do that himself. Couldn't he just hold off Vader and the stormtroopers a little bit longer so they could have gotten away a little bit easier? But he was like, oh, there they are, you know. Let me just let my, like, super new best friend see me die.
Right, okay, yeah.
Because that's not cruel.
I don't think he planned to do that, but I mean, I don't think the film...
Oh, no, he didn't, because he was just looking at Luke, looking at Vader, and then it just goes...
I don't think the film would have had quite as much dramatic weight if towards the end Obi-Wan was like, oh, Vader, what's that? Come on then, guys, let's go. Like, you know, it's dramatic.
Somewhere in between, Luke.
There are some things that... I know, I'm joking.
Fighting Vader, because he was distracting the stormtroopers.
Well, again, you're going to hate me, but more trivia. Obi-Wan wasn't supposed to die in the film. But George Lucas realised that all Obi-Wan did in the last third of the film was just stand around with everyone at the control center, you know, like when they're looking at all like the details of the Death Star attack, and he had nothing to do in the film but stand there and do nothing. So George Lucas was like, right, well, let's give it some weight, let's make his character more meaningful in that last part of the film and have him speaking to Luke through the Force, you know. And apparently Alec Guinness was not happy about that when he learned that his character was getting killed off, but he's brilliant as well. Incredible actor, and he really brings some class to the film, I think. Like, just the first scene you see him in, when Luke's like, oh, I'm looking for someone called Obi-Wan Kenobi. And the way that Alec Guinness reacts to hearing that name again, like the look in his eyes, you know, it's just brilliant, I think.
And for the first time ever, I saw that he looks a little bit like my stepdad.
Yeah.
And it was just when he took off his hood and is looking at R2-D2, and I'm like, oh my god, he looks like my stepdad. And he sees it too.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah. The cantina scene, you know, just all these weird and wonderful. The music again, just excellent. And this film is so quotable and so. I don't
like you either.
I don't like you either. It's so memorable. Just every scene is like classic moment after classic moment.
So definitely shoots first.
It's like okay, shooting first. He's the only one who shoots. There's no first or second about it. He's the only one who shoots. And I've never been a big. Like, oh, hand shot first. It doesn't really bother me. It's so quick in the special edition. That stuff doesn't really bother me.
Really?
No,
I mean, you really like this one?
No, that sucked when they changed it so he moves. Like no, yeah, but it's straight out of the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know, if you want to shoot, shoot. Don't talk. You know, another great reference there to a classic film, which at that point was only about 10 years old itself. Carrie Fisher. Princess Leia, you know, she's great in the film. She really, really is. She had that fire, and you know, and people are like, oh, you know, again, Force Awakens, great to see a strong female character in Star Wars. It's like, did you watch the original? Like, you know, it's kind of keeping him. It's keeping him with tradition. Yeah, she just takes over. You know?
It's like, oh, you guys rescued me, but you listen to me from now on.
Yeah, you want to talk about a strong female character? Yeah. Princess Leia is the blueprint for that.
Like the trouble of the garbage.
Right,
place,
yeah.
You know?
Someone's got to save
that
our
wouldn't
skin.
have happened without her.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was a bad thing, because they almost got killed twice in there.
She's brilliant. She's just great, and yeah, obviously with it.
I like it more now that I know more of her personality, like how they've kind of like made us get to know her a little bit better. The way Luke.
Mark
Hamill, sorry. The way he was talking about her and stuff, he was talking for ages about how she was like and stuff.
Yeah,
and seeing the movie again now after hearing how she was like, and now seeing the movie again, you kind of see like what he means, like the way she acted and stuff.
Yeah, at Celebration this year, he did like an hour-long panel just talking about Carrie Fisher. Obviously, she passed away 5 months ago. And it wasn't one of those things where I watched the film and it was like hard to watch, you know. I just enjoyed it, you know, and that's the great thing about these films where people.
That's what you would want as well.
Yeah, exactly. You just watch it and enjoy it, and again, just think she's great, and just what a perfect combination those three main characters were, and would go on to be for the next two films.
I hope we don't.
And Darth Vader, he's in the film for like 15 minutes, makes such an impact. And the way that the helmet is designed and kind of influenced by samurai helmets and stuff, but has the kind of robotic influence in there as well. Just a great design on Darth Vader. And David Prowse, who doesn't quite get his due because he didn't do the voice, and there's a lot of backstory with that and kind of bad blood, but he really brings the physicality to that role, I think. Just the way he walks, the way he turns, the way he'll put his hand up to choke someone, just perfectly you know, embody that role, literally. And then, of course, James Earl Jones gives a tremendous vocal performance of the character.
There's one spot when they've just taken in the Han Solo's ship.
Millennium Falcon.
Yes. And he stood there and they just say like, oh, it's empty, they left before it even took off.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, I feel something, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't felt this since... And then just turns around right away.
Yeah.
He doesn't stop to go, I haven't felt this since... And then walks away? Or like, even like, stop to smell the air, if you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he just, I haven't felt this since... And then he walks away. There's no breaks. I feel like the timing of that could have had a bigger impact because you don't really... It's almost like you're like, what did he say?
I liked it. Because to me, it's like something I haven't felt since, but he's already like, he's like another step ahead, and he just needs to move on to the next thing, and just, and that's another great thing I like about the film, is the idea of the Force. It's just a great idea, you know, it's really, really simple. And, you know, just the idea of kind of feeling things, and Luke hearing Obi-Wan later on, and it just opens up so many possibilities for the later films, and then the final attack on the Death Star is just incredible. Like, especially that one shot where your kind of POV style going down into the trench, you know, just an amazing shot for the time period. It just looks great. Exciting, you know, dazzling, and the final approach where Luke turns his computer off to fire in that final proton torpedo. It's just perfect. It's a great adventure, action, fantasy, sci-fi, you know, comedy, romance, you know, it has everything rolled into one. And I really, what's the word? I undervalue this film so much because Empire is my favourite, Return of the Jedi was my favourite as a kid, so this one has always been on the bottom as far as the original trilogy goes. And so whenever I watch this film, I'm suddenly like, oh, I forgot how good this was. Like, it really is just so good. I guess I love the other two because we already know who the characters are, and we can just start off with them all together, or, you know, in some ways. Whereas this one, it takes a while to set things up, and I want to get to all the good stuff. But this really is just an incredible film.
To me, it's this one and the third one, not the second one.
What do you mean? They're your favourites?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, the second one is the least favourite, I think.
I like that. I like that because, you know,
I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the snow scene in the beginning. Just hits home too much, you know. Had to. Yeah, it's
literally,
like,
it was filmed in Norway.
and the rest isn't that memorable for me. Maybe I haven't seen it many enough times.
Alright, yeah. I like that though. I mean, it's my favourite film ever, but I like that that's your least favourite. That's kind of cool and different.
Is it the second one where he meets Yoda?
Yes.
Well, I like that scene.
Yeah.
And that scenario.
Yeah. Anyway, Star Wars is just...
I can remember, really.
Is it a film you should see before you die?
Duh.
Yep. It's to me, it is one of the best films ever. Not just because it's a great film, because it's entertaining and it manages to do so much and entertain you in so many different ways, from enjoying the characters to enjoying the look of the film, the different locations. It's one of the first films to really put across the idea of a lived-in future or past, you know, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. But everything in science fiction mostly, excuse me, was like just white, clean, pristine, you know, just very clinical. And this had like dirty kind of sci-fi, just like things were, you know, like Millennium Falcon is supposed to be like a piece of junk and stuff like that. And that's something that influenced the design of Alien, the kind of lived-in sci-fi and stuff like that. And, you know, this film influenced so many people. Ridley Scott, you know, when he saw it, went, fuck, someone did it first. James Cameron saw it and went, I've got to do that for, you know, for the rest. That's what I want to do the rest of my life. And it continues to influence and inspire people. The opening shot with the ship going overhead, it's just littered with these iconic moments. The shot of Luke looking out to the twin suns, which look incredible. They look so good. I feel like if you did that twin suns scene now, it would look a bit too digital. But there's something about it. It looks like two actual suns. I don't know how they did it or made it look that good. Like there's a little kind of rippling, kind of like the heat kind of. I don't know. This just looks great. And the music, John Williams, which I've already said, but I mean, it's just, it's unbelievable. Like there's so many great pieces of music in there. It really was just, like I said, lightning in a bottle. Could never be repeated. could be, you know, expanded on with The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. But I think that as close as, well, I wouldn't even say close, but I mean the prequels, I enjoy them. You know, I think they're good. I enjoy them a lot. They never reached the original trilogy, obviously. I don't think even the recent films have touched the original trilogy. I think those 3 original films will be kind of the standard that will never really get matched again.
Because they're original.
It's because they're original, and it's, you know, you can't go back to that style, I guess. It's so, even though I love all the new Star Wars films, Force Awakens incredible, Rogue One was great, they're never going to really be as good, you know.
Yeah, it's like that with everything almost now, like the new Alien movie.
Yeah.
I thought it was great, but it doesn't beat the original.
Not a chance.
Because they're just unbeatable.
And like I said, George Lucas brought in so many different elements in making this, but what he had at the end of it was something that felt original, and that takes a real talent. So you can knock him all you want for some things, and it really saddens me that he made, you know, a handful of movies and is basically retired from filmmaking because people were so mad at him about the prequels that they basically bullied him into retirement. I know he's a grown man. I know that it should be up to him to kind of ignore that stuff, but he literally says, like, why make more films when all people do is tell me what a horrible person I am? And it's true. People took those prequels far too seriously. You know, like, you didn't like them. That's it. Okay, you're disappointed. That's a shame. But to say that you hate them or that you hate him, it's like, come on, they're movies at the end of the day, and it just... You know, recently he said that he's still going to make films, but he's not going to show anyone, because what's the point? You know, it's just really sad. Because looking at American Graffiti and looking at Star Wars, you know, and I do think that The Empire Strikes Back is a better film, and was probably better because there was better writers on it, you know, and a better director as well. But I still think that you can look at Star Wars, the original film. That's George Lucas. He started it, and it's not like it was a rough start. It was excellent. So yeah.
Yeah, I think people are cruel. You wouldn't have Star Wars if it wasn't for him being a little bit grateful.
Yeah.
Seriously. Again, it's a trend to hate on people as well. Like, you might have actually liked them in the beginning, but people hate it, and and you get mocked because you like it, so you end up hating it yourself. Or thinking that you do.
Yeah, it's
and then you send all these hateful messages to people who just want to give you something nice, you know, and then you make someone quit doing something they love. So shame on you, seriously. And
from all accounts, George Lucas is a very kind of sensitive guy, you know, and a quiet guy in a lot of ways, which is probably why he wasn't the best director, because he wouldn't have much direction for the actors. He was more about just, I've written it down, so do it, you know. People have said that, you know, he wasn't the best at directing actors, but he was great at having this story and having this, you know, passion for telling stories and stuff. And so I can see why he did take it to heart, which is unfortunate. But he pulled off something incredible with Star Wars, and the real kind of cool thing, I think, is that he was able to secure the merchandising rights to Star Wars, because 20th Century Fox was like, oh, we don't care about that. We don't care about selling t-shirts for this sci-fi film that's not going to make any money. Became the biggest film ever, and George had all the merchandising rights, so he could literally fund the next film himself without the involvement of the studios, and then started making these companies, and, you know, the editing. Like, he created editing systems that gave us basically what we have today, what I use. You know, he started innovating all this technology.
CGI in general. He founded the first proper ILM, you know?
Yeah.
It's just from there, it started everything.
Yeah.
Because of him.
Exactly. It wasn't just
and
the...
then you have you ungrateful people.
Which isn't most people, let's be honest. I think a lot of people...
I know, but there are so many of them, and it's just horrible.
Yeah, they're just movies at the end of the day.
Bad for him.
But, you know...
Let him wear his shirts and stuff.
Let him wear his shirts and stuff.
Yeah, people are like giving him a hard time for his shirts.
Oh god, yeah.
He does like that shirt.
He does like the flannel, he does.
I love flannel too, I don't blame him.
Right.
If I could have all flannel, I would.
Okay, we're getting a bit off track.
No, we're still on George Lucas.
I know. So he didn't just have the imagination and the drive to tell this story and to fight to get the money to make it and to go out there and make it and present it to the world, but he had the
he made the technology
technology
for the future.
Exactly.
Movie. He's a good guy.
He's a great guy. He really is, and I really think that he gets far too much flack. And looking at Star Wars, that's something you can never take away from him. Even if he did tinker with it later on, which I'm not a big fan of, but you look at the original, it's awesome. Big George Lucas fan,
and also, I mean, instead of just keeping it to himself, he actually let Disney have it to make it go on, and now Star Wars lives on. Okay, it's through a different company and stuff, but people also like hate him because he sold his baby and stuff.
Yeah.
But if he didn't, we wouldn't have the next 6 movies.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure a lot of the people who hated the first 1, 2, 3, they're loving the new ones. So if he hadn't done that, we wouldn't still have this.
Yeah.
To look forward to every December.
But bottom line, I think that George Lucas has had an incredible impact on film in general, and Star Wars is a great film, and you should definitely see it before you die. Thanks for watching.